Okay, hi everyone. It's so good to see a full room of people right after lunch, so I hope I can get you really excited about this topic, because we don't want you to fall asleep after lunch, of course, so let me try and make this really exciting for you. So my name is Laskewitz, and I'm a senior cloud advocate at Microsoft, and that means that I can talk about really cool subjects like this. So my role is to enthuse people about the Power Platform. And of course, AI prompts is part of the Power Platform, so that's why I'm talking about that today. So a little bit of the agenda. I'll start talking a little bit about what are AI prompts. After that, I will talk about how to design them, because of course, after the session, you should be able to create your own AI prompts and then use them inside of the Power Platform. After that, I will showcase a use case of one of the new features that is out there for AI prompts. I will showcase how you can get an input file and then get all kinds of data out of that. So you might know companies that have invoices that come in through the email, for instance, and then you want to analyze all the data that's in those files. That's what we'll show in the real-life scenarios. And after that, I will talk a little bit about recent updates. And it's a little bit of a weird situation for me right now, because at this time, Microsoft Build is happening in Seattle. And for recent updates, it's kind of, is it already out or not? That's what I'm kind of worried about, but I'm going to show you new stuff. So that's going to be in there. So first, let's talk a little bit about what are AI prompts. And AI prompts are a set of instructions that are sent to generative AI models to accomplish a task. And what's really cool about AI prompts is that they are reusable. So normally when you use a tool like, for instance, Microsoft Copilot or Microsoft 365 Copilot, you will probably recognize that you can enter a text there. You can enter a prompt. And when you do that, you always have to write it over and over again. So every time you are in Copilot and you have a good prompt, you need to then use that the next time you need to type it again, and then you can go on. And that's what AI prompt solves. So what you can do is you can use the AI prompt builder, and that's what you can see here behind me now. And you can add all the instructions in there, you can add data to it, you can add knowledge to it, and then you can easily add that to the Power Platform product. So what you can do is you can add it to Power Apps, you can add it to Power Automate, you can add it to Copilot Studio, and you can easily call it from there. You can also add it to Microsoft Copilot, of course, because you can also add an agent in Copilot Studio and then add that to Microsoft Copilot. So there's a lot of possibilities there. But let's start with how to design AI prompts. And I already showed you this prompt builder. As you can see, you have instructions in the, on the left side, for instance, and a lot of people start there. So they start typing immediately. And we introduced a new feature only a couple of weeks back, and that's this one. And that's when you can get started with Copilot. So if you want to write a really good prompt, a lot of people don't know how to write it. They don't know all the tips and tricks around prompts, and I personally think that it's too hard for people to understand as well. It should be easier for people. And that's why we added that Copilot, so that you can just describe what you want, and then it will generate instructions for you. And then you can easily refine it a little bit, because we all also say, don't let AI create everything on its own for you. Always have a human in the loop. So always make sure that you look at those different things. When we also talk about designing AI prompts, there are a couple of things you need to be aware of. So there are 4 topics inside of a prompt that you need to include. The first one is the task. So the task, you will write that in the instructions. So you will say to an LLM what you want to achieve. Next, you might want to add context. So what you can do there, for instance, is you can add files, you can add Dataverse knowledge, you can add all kinds of different inputs into your AI prompt. Next, you want to also write the expectations. What are you expecting from the model? So we saw a couple of things just in the Slido. Like, I want you to write this as Sheldon Cooper or something like that. That's what you can do as an explanation as well, or expectation in the instructions. Next, we also want to talk about the output. And what we can do in the output is we can select the output on the right side of the prompt builder. And what we can do there is we can switch between text and JSON. And JSON is really interesting because it will give you a more formatted output without any like text that can go all kinds of ways. It's more of a structured kind of output that you get. So that makes it really ideal for instance, Power Apps, because in Power Apps you have galleries and that kind of stuff, and in those galleries you want to kind of configure which different properties you want in a certain gallery. So that's like a high overview of the prompt builder. Let's go into a real-life scenario. Invoice processing, as I said before, it's something that at a lot of companies it exists. And you might get an email with a PDF with invoices in an email inbox, for instance. And I've added two invoices there. These are kind of the same format, but you can, of course, also use other formats in there and from different companies, etc. It will all work pretty well. And if I want to start creating a prompt for this, I can go to Copilot Studio and then use the tools part of Copilot Studio to add an AI prompt. And when I want to start there, I can start with the Copilot. So I can type something there. So I can type about, I want to extract information from an invoice, and I can also add all the content that I want from that invoice. So there are some fields that you always want to have, for instance, and other fields you don't want to have. So that's why we kind of input it in there. And what we can then do is we can make sure that Copilot runs, and then we will get an output of that. There's a whole lot of information in there. Imagine if you have to type that all instead of letting it generate. I think this is already a really big improvement. Of course, it's not perfect. There are still some improvements to be made. But I think this is a great start for creating those AI prompts. There are some things that you still need to change manually. For instance, at the bottom, you can see the invoice document. What you need to do there is you need to add a new input and change it to an image or document. It will tell you to switch the model, because we also have different models in the AI prompts. And in this case, because it's a document or an image, I need to change it to a different model. What I can do then is I can add the name of the invoice, or name of the invoice property, and then I can add a file as well in there. And then I can test it again to see what comes out of it. And if we wait for a little while, I hope it goes really fast, but it will take a little while before it's done. And there we go, we have the text in there. So this is all markdown text. It's like a formatted text that you can have. And this is one of those things that can be really helpful when you use Copilot Studio. If you switch to JSON, you need to test it again, and then you can see the output in JSON. And then it's the structured content that I talked about. So then you can get all the different outputs. You can really get, like, if you want to have the total amount of the invoice, or you want to have the invoice number, you can easily get that from the JSON part. So that's really cool. And now, of course, you kind of think, I have my prompt, but what do I need to do next? And the real power with AI prompts is in the reusability. So if I create this, and if I have this, I of course want to use this maybe in multiple agents. So I always need to add it to something else. Just a prompt is not enough. We need to use it inside of other things. Imagine if we do this in Power Apps, then users can easily upload a file and then hit send, and then it will come back with the output. And in Power Apps, it will probably make sense to design it a little bit better, but you will get the output there, and then you can do other things with it. For instance, you can save it, you can review it. If there's a wrong number, you can maybe adjust it. So it's always good to have a human in there that checks what the AI is doing. And after that, you can use that. But in this case, I am going to use it inside of Copilot Studio. So I already created a topic inside of Copilot Studio. And if I go to the video that I have here, I can have a trigger, and then I can have a prompt. I can trigger the prompt from here. And what's really cool here is that you can, in this case, I just picked the first attachment that is in the message, and then it responds with a couple of things from that output of the prompt. So the input for the prompt is the document. So when somebody adds a document to the message, what I'm doing now, it will get sent to the invoice processing prompt. And what we can see here now is that it will upload the file. In this topic, I didn't do the whole shebang, so I didn't create all the logic to have multiple attachments, because that's also a case, of course, but you can easily do that as well. And here we go, we have an invoice number, and that's the first invoice. I can share the slides later so that you can really check it if it was correct, but it is correct. Now I'm adding another document there, and it will do the same thing, basically. So it will write the output there as well. So it's just processing now. It's going through the whole prompt, and you can see there's another number there, and it's also another salesperson that you can see there. Okay, that was a lot of information. So let's move forward and talk a little bit about the recent updates, because there are a lot of recent updates. One of them, I already showed it to you, and that's the multimodal inputs. So what you can do now is you can add an image or a document. So what you can do is you can upload an image, for instance, a PNG file or a JPEG file or whatever, and you can also add documents, like a PDF or a Word file. Currently, those are the only things that you can use inside of prompts. But we are working on way more different formats that you can use. So for instance, for documents, it might not make sense to only have PDFs and Word files. Maybe you want to have PowerPoint files in there, Excel files. You want to have all kinds of different types of documents in there as well. That's what we're going to support as well in this part. Next, another really exciting one, and this is also one of my big things that I like about AI prompts. I was already telling about the Copilot, where you can just write what you want, and it will generate a prompt for you. This is another quick tip. Make sure to go to the prompt library, and that's also available inside of the prompt builder. You can just click on prompt library, and there you will see a whole bunch of samples of prompts that you can use. And this makes it really easy for people to understand how can I write a prompt, and you can see best practices there, etc. So when you start working on AI prompts, make sure to look at that prompt library and use a couple of them to kind of find out, how do I write good prompts? What are good scenarios, etc. So that's really a big tip for me. Make sure to go to the prompt library, and you will find a whole lot of them. I think it's today that they will release an update of the prompt library. So there will be, instead of like 60 prompts, there will be, I think, 100 or 120 different prompts. And it will be really helpful to have that as well in there. And if you have some examples yourself that you want to share with me, let me know. I'm always happy to add more stuff to the prompt library. So after the session, make sure to come to me and tell me what you would love to do. And maybe I will say we already have that as a sample. And if we don't, I would happily add it to the prompt library as well. And now, this is probably the most requested one that we have. And it's really interesting because with prompt library, we want to be really low code. So we want to make it easy for people to just create a prompt in there, make it reusable, pick a model. We already have the standard models on the top. Those are the managed models. And what's really interesting about those managed models is that whenever you pick one, you don't have to think about anything. You don't have to think about tokens. You don't have to think about API keys that you need to add or URLs to certain models, etc. It's already there. And also, when you use it in a solution, you export it, go to another environment, import it, everything just works. And that's a big advantage. But we added something new. And the new thing is that we can add Azure AI Foundry models as well. So we can add a custom model to the prompt builder. And that got announced today, or it will be announced today. So this is almost like a scoop for you. So it will be available And what you can do there is you can add your own model. So if you have a model or you know a model in the AI Foundry catalog where it's, for instance, about your industry, so you have something in finance, for instance, models that are optimized for those kinds of scenarios, you might want to use that inside of the prompt builder. And that's what's possible now. And you can also do fine-tuning, so if you want to have a little bit more control over those models, you can do that as well. There is one quirk, though. You need to, of course, add the API key, the URLs, and that kind of stuff, because that's not available in the custom models, only in the managed models. And you also need to be aware that when you use the managed models, there's also a lot of AI safety in there. So the stuff in there is, for instance, enabled that when somebody asks some really, really bad question, I'm not going to repeat them, but when they ask a really bad question, it will respond with, I can't answer that, for instance, because of, I don't want to give an answer to that. And that's all built in with those managed models. But when you use the AI Foundry models, you need to take care of that yourself. So what you need to do there is you need to create all those safety guards in there and make sure that it's there. Lastly, I have a whole lot of resources, or a whole lot. I have really long resources. There are not a whole lot of them, but you can go to the documentation. There are some great guides on how to use this. There are some. There's also a PDF file in the resources that you can use for the prompt guide. And the prompt guide is basically helping you to write good prompts. And also some of the tips that I showed in this presentation are available in that prompt guide. So make sure to check out the resources. And with that, I would like to turn it over to Q&A. So let's go.